Hello and welcome to the webinar. Today I'm going to teach you the top 3 tips from the 2020 Visibility Challenge, and if you've not been following me online then you probably won't know what that was. So 2020 was a marketing challenge that I set for myself and for my followers back in June, and from that I developed an e-course with 20 lessons based on the 20 days of the challenge. And what I'm teaching you today are my top 3 tips, so the top 3 lessons from that course and from the challenge. So here's what's coming up over the next 40 minutes of our webinar. First of all, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about who I am, because I think it's important to know who's teaching you and what their background is. I'm going to then teach you the top 3 takeaways from the 2020 Visibility Challenge, and you may want to take notes for this. Then I'm going to give you a little look inside of my e-course so you can see what all 20 of the lessons are and see if it's for you or not. And then finally, I'll give you a link to your free PDF download of my social media tips, which is a thank you for your time and attention today. If you're wondering if you're in the right place, you are if you have a small business, a product or a service that you're really passionate about, but you perhaps lack the marketing know-how to get your message out there and to find an audience of potential customers. I usually train authors, bloggers and life coaches, but this training can be applied to any small business. So who am I? Well, my name's Sarah, I'm 35 and I'm a digital marketer and I train people in digital marketing. And until recently, this holiday shot that you see in front of you was my professional headshot, if you will, for everything, from my LinkedIn page to my websites to all of my training. I didn't have a professional headshot. I'm one of those people that sees a camera and does this face. I hate having my picture taken. And I bring this up because I know, particularly from my background in the life coaching world, I know that when you're trying to put yourself online, make yourself visible, get your business moving, it's scary. It really is scary. And we come up with these little ways to sabotage ourselves, to put off starting doing the scary things. So for me, I could easily have not put up my website because I didn't have a professional headshot, and I could not have put my training courses out there because I didn't look the part. But you have to find a way past those things. So my point here is that you don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to get out there and get started, and you can improve things as you go along. So I used that holiday shot of me, and it's 7 years old. It's not really representative of how I look now, I suppose, but I just felt like I have to have a headshot, but I didn't have anyone that I liked. So I thought I'll be the person who's a little bit different. I'll not have a professional headshot of me wearing a smart shirt and smiling and sitting at the right angle to the camera, but instead I'll have something that shows my fun side, and it's colourful and it's different, and that did the job for a while. I have recently managed to take a headshot that's not awful and I don't completely hate it, so that's currently my image for everything now. But if you've followed me for a while, then you will have seen that picture of me covered in parakeets before, and that was me just getting started, even though it wasn't perfect. So I'm an author and I self-published my first ebook back in 2013. And this is really where my marketing journey began, because until I tried to get my book seen and purchased by other people, I didn't really know anything about the world of marketing. I honestly thought that writing a book would be the hardest part of the process and that it would pretty much sell itself, and I know that's naive now. But honestly, writing the book was hard, and I would say that the editing process particularly almost drove me mad. When I was looking for images to build the slides for this presentation, I came across this old Facebook post of mine from about 2013, and you can see I've started to go a little bit crazy, and I'm drinking, and that's not normally me. But with the help of my editor, Mr. Kitten, we eventually got the ebook up for sale on the Amazon store, and at that point I really did breathe a sigh of relief and think that the hard part was over. I had no idea that the real work would start after publishing the book. It's being a writer, it's not all about the writing. You actually have to, either have a publisher that has a marketing department to do the work for you, or you have to learn how to be a marketer, because otherwise, with the hundreds of thousands of books that are out there on the Amazon marketplace, how are your audience going to find you? Now, I wasn't a total stranger to this. I'd previously had a couple of little forays into areas where I'd needed to use marketing. So the very first thing I ever did back when I was at uni is that I got involved in an MLM company, which, if you don't know, multi-level marketing, it's kind of like, Avon? Everyone knows what Avon does. It's like that, but not that company. I was selling health products, but I really didn't care for it. I didn't do it for very long. And then I had an Etsy store during my next year at university, because I was really into arts and crafts. So I would make things. I used to make jewellery, and I'd make these things and sell them on the Etsy store. And I realised at that point that just being on Etsy wasn't enough. I had to actively promote my own products. So I built a Facebook page for it. And even then, I was still naive, because I thought that having a Facebook page was being a marketer. And I had no idea that you don't simply wish for Facebook fans. You have to find the right fans through targeting, because they need to not just be random faces that have liked your page. They need to actually be interested in what it is that you have to offer. So I started to realise that I was way out of my depth and didn't know anything about marketing. So I started to take some online training and to learn about these things. Now, these guys have become my marketing heroes. The very first online training I took from the lady on the left. Her name is Michelle Pesco-Salido, and she was one of the original Facebook queens. Particularly her Facebook paid advertising training was super useful to me. And then the guy in the middle is called Ray Higdon. Now, he's actually from the world of MLM, so the company, the style of selling that I wasn't into, I didn't enjoy. But with that said, his training, although it's aimed at MLM, it's actually really widely applicable to the whole marketing world. I've learnt a lot about him, a lot from him about content particularly, and blogging. And he's been a fantastic resource for me. And the guy on the right is super famous. You may well have heard of Brendan Burchard. He's famous in the personal development world as well as the marketing and writing world. So I'm a huge fan of his. So I started to take my online training from these guys, and I learnt an awful lot. And I got really, really interested in marketing when I started to realise what it could do for your small business. I mean, it was the writing that I was truly passionate about at first. But once I realised what my marketing could do for my writing, I became really passionate about marketing too. Now, this is just a random tip. It's not one of my top 3 tips by any means, but just wondering, did you notice the colour theme in those pictures? They're all wearing blue shirts. And it's just a random little thing, but in the marketing world, there's something about the colour blue. There's a really widely held belief that the colour blue, for some reason, makes us more inclined to part with our money. Now, I couldn't explain the neuroscience of this, and I certainly don't know if it's based on any empirical research or not, but it sure is popular. If you look at marketing templates, lead pages, email templates, lots of blue. Websites, lots of blue. Facebook is blue, Twitter is blue. My website, I've certainly embraced the blue theme, and the chances are that you've come to me by clicking a blue button at somewhere along the line. So I just wanted to share that. It's kind of a fun pseudo fact. Another blue image here. So having taken all this online training, I was starting to become truly visible online myself, and really enjoying the learning process as well. Now, when I finally graduated from university, again with the help of my editor, Mr. Kitten, who not that great an editor, he mostly sleeps on my laptop, but not really we, it was me. I graduated and I started applying for jobs, and I was also taking a training course at that time with a life coaching school, where I was training to be a coach. And while I was working for that school, a vacancy came up for someone to do marketing for them. So I got that job, and that that was absolutely fantastic because it allowed me to fully immerse myself in the social media and the content that they needed doing. And then finally, I got involved in all things digital marketing for that school. And I'd been doing that job for the last 2 years, and I've just recently left to set up my full-time marketing consultancy. But that was a brilliant experience because I was really interested in the human mind and personal development and got to do marketing from it. So it scratched both of those itches. Now, once I started advertising my new business, this image was one that I used in my early advertising campaigns. And again, yes, I know it's blue. But also a lot of the coaches that were my peers from the school had said to me that this image particularly stood out to them because it really kind of summed up how they felt when they were starting their coaching businesses. They just kind of felt like, maybe not like they were drowning, but like they were submerged under a sea of just too much information and too many other people competing for attention, and they were just kind of waving for attention but not being seen. So this image really resonated with people. I found that really interesting, and I started working one-on-one with some of my coaching peers who were setting up their part-time or full-time coaching businesses and teaching them what I knew about digital marketing. And that's kind of how my business as a consultant was born. And that's also how we arrive at today's webinar. So we're here because I've had that experience myself of, as a writer, being really passionate about writing but not knowing how to get seen. And I'm really familiar with, from my life coaching friends, of their struggle of wanting to be coaches, being absolutely fantastic at coaching and loving that work, but not knowing how to market a coaching business. And then also, of course, the challenge that I set back in June for me and some of my followers. This has very much led us to the point we're at today, where I have an eCourse and I'm giving you this free training webinar based on 3 of the tips from that eCourse, which came directly from the challenge. So if you weren't familiar with the challenge, then let me just tell you what I did for that month of June in a nutshell. So I ran this for myself and for my followers to join in with. I started a brand new Facebook page, a brand new Instagram account, and built a new website from scratch. And I did that because I wanted to lead by example and do exactly what I was telling my coaching peers to do, because that's where they're at. They're starting out in marketing, so they've got to build a brand new Facebook page. They haven't got hundreds of followers already. They have to find them. They need, they haven't got Instagram followers, and they probably haven't got a website when they're just getting started as well. So I started from scratch by, to lead by example, and I did short 20-minute tasks 5 days a week, which was 20 days throughout June. So that's kind of where the name came from, 20 minutes a day, 20 days. And also it's a bit of a play on 2020 vision as well. But the point of this challenge was to demonstrate how quickly online visibility can be gained with small but consistent effort, and to lead by example, to do it myself. So this 20-day challenge then formed the basis for the eCourse that I'm going to be showing you later. But before we get to that, as promised, I'm going to give you the top 3 takeaways from the challenge and from the course. So I hope you're sitting comfortably and have a notepad, because here comes the free training. Okay, lesson number 1. I call this the 2-for-1 trick, and it's about getting paid Facebook page likes without breaking the bank. So getting a bit of extra mileage out of your cost per click here. So to give you a bit of background, a key part of my pre-launch for this challenge was to write a couple of good blog posts that gave some value up front, and therefore gave people a reason to join in with my challenge and to keep me company throughout the month of June. Now, with both of these blog posts that I wrote, I shared them on Facebook as boosted posts, and that's currently my favourite way to advertise on Facebook, as you can include as much text before the image as you like. So you've got a much better chance to make the case for why people should click through to your website. Now, you can also use targeting in boosted posts. So what I did before I boosted my post is I went into my ads manager and I made a custom audience of people that were my micro niche of authors, coaches and bloggers. So just some of the demographics I chose were people who were interested in Kindle self-publishing, people who said they were authors or life coaches or who were interested in WordPress. There's just a little handful of the demographics I picked. You can be really specific. You can choose age, geography, gender, as well as interests, so that there's a lot you can do. I won't go down that road because we're just going to stick to the lessons and keep it simple today, but there is a lot you can do in Facebook Ads Manager to choose a really well targeted audience and then boost your posts to them. Now, here comes the cool trick. The people who liked that boosted post can now be directly invited to like your page. So when you're looking at your boosted post on your Facebook wall, you're going to see the post, and then beneath it you'll see a blue link that says a couple of names plus 67 other people or whatever number liked this post. It's a blue link. You click it and this box opens, and this box shows you all the people who have liked your post. Now, of these people who've liked your post, you can see these have already liked my page as well, but this person hasn't. So I click invite and Facebook sends an invite directly to their inbox, and there is no charge for this whatsoever. So you're getting two actions for the price of one. You're paying once for the post like, but you're not paying a penny for the invite, which, at the time of recording this is still doable on Facebook, and it's absolutely fantastic, and a lot of marketers are making really good use of it. And the other cool thing, and it's a really cool thing about this, is that the people that are being invited to like your page and who are coming across and liking your page liked your original content that you targeted them for. So they're not your auntie or your mate or, some kind work colleagues who came to like your Facebook page because they can see you struggling to set up a new following for your new business and they're doing you a favour, but obviously they're never going to become your customers. These are people who could become warm leads and eventually customers of yours because they were strangers. You targeted them with your high quality content. They liked your high quality content. They've accepted an invitation to like you and follow you to see more of your content. These are potentially customers in the future. So that's a really cool thing as well. So that was tip number 1. I hope you liked that. Tip number 2. This is about content, and it's about making more of your content by repurposing it. Now, we've all heard the term upcycling, and for the most part, that makes me think of hipsters, people who will do things like take a hubcap from the side of the road and turn it into a bird feeder. That's upcycling. But when it's applied to content, for me, it's about taking an original piece of content, recycling, upcycling, embellishing, changing a little bit, changing the format for the social media platform that you're on, and just getting more out of it. So you're probably wondering, why would I do this? Simply to cover more bases. So there's 2 angles to this here. Angle number 1 is that you're a busy person. You cannot be coming up with a new blog post every 5 minutes, but you do need to be consistently putting out high quality content. So the way to do this, and the way that all the top marketers are doing it, is to take the quality content that you have and to change it into different formats because you'll cover more bases. And the other angle to this is that people are different. Not everybody who's a fan of yours is going to have the time or the inclination to read your blog posts, but they might listen to you on audio, or they might just not have time for any of that, but they might love what you're sharing on Instagram. People are different. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people are busier than others. If you want to reach more people and keep more people happy, then you need to upcycle into different formats. So how might you do this? Well, here's a helpful infographic. So I'm just going to drag my mouse over here and say, let's start here at your original content. So if you're a writer, maybe you've taken an excerpt from your book and published it on your website as a preview. Or if you're a life coach, maybe you've taken a case study of a coaching client and you've, changed it a bit and respected confidentiality, but perhaps that's somewhere on your website. So that's original content. And a lot of people would just share that on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, and then put it to bed and consider that that's the end of its life cycle. So not the case. We can make so much more of this, cover more bases, reach more people, get more mileage out of your original piece of content. So something really simple that you can do is you can make a quote card, and all that requires you to do is take a nice image from one that's legal to use from a free image sharing site, and layer a little bit of text from your content over it. Save it, upload it to these places, and you've got a quote card. People still love these. They're so popular on social media. You can share that on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Pinterest. Perhaps you can produce a blog post based on your original piece of content, which you can either share on your website, or if you don't have a website, no excuse, you can either publish it on LinkedIn Pulse, or you can go to medium.com and make an account there, which will host your writing for you. A bit of an aside, but I would say don't do all three of these, just because Google does not like to see websites producing duplicate content. It's the aim for Google is to keep everything fresh and relevant and original, so it doesn't want several different websites hosting the same thing. Your website's domain authority could be damaged by this, so don't do it. Pick one or the other. And then from there, taking the content, the blog post, the thing you've written about, you could go on to live streaming and talk about it. I know it's a little bit scary and not everyone likes doing it, but don't knock it till you've tried it. A lot of people are horrified by the idea at first, and then they get over the fear hump and actually start to enjoy it. So give it a try. If you go onto Facebook Live, you can share it there. You can have a conversation about what you've just written, and you can do the same thing on Periscope. Now, if you've got time for both, I would recommend trying both. And the reason for this is that these two are very different audiences. So when you're sharing something on Facebook Live, that's first of all going to the fans of the page that you're streaming from. It can go outside of that reach if you pay to boost your post. When you're on Periscope, it tends to be not usually your followers that see you. It's usually whoever is just live on on Periscope at that time, and they'll see your live stream come up as live now, and they may click onto it if it sounds interesting. Now, from that reason, it can go one of two directions. You can either have a great experience where you reach new people that had never heard of you before, but they love what you're doing, or you can reach complete idiots and you can get horrible, spammy troll comments. It can go either way. What I would say is if you're going to try it, just go in there with a thick skin and know that there are a lot of bored, silly people on the internet. But don't let it offend you. It's not personal. It's really common, happens to everyone. Don't let me put you off though. Do try it, because I have seen some life coaches doing fantastic things on Periscope that have been really worthwhile. And then finally, you could make a podcast or a vlog or even both. And just while we're here, I just want to mention Brendan Bouchard again, who was one of my marketing heroes that I mentioned earlier, because he does something brilliant with repurposing. He's got a vlog which doubles up as his blog. So if you go to his website, his blog page, it's not written blog posts, it's just embedded videos from YouTube, his video blog. If you go to YouTube, obviously all those videos are there, and his YouTube channel is incredibly popular. And also he's got a column on huffingtonpost.com, which again is the same YouTube video embedded. So he's done, for each one of his videos, he's getting 3 different sites on the internet covered. And that's not the same problem as you'd get by posting a text post, because Google doesn't know what the content of your video is, so he's not getting penalised for duplicate content. You'd think getting a 3-for-1 out of his video blog was enough, but no, he actually gets a 4th action. He strips that audio away from the video and uploads it to iTunes, and it's also his podcast. He's an absolute master at upcycling, so I wanted to share that with you for inspiration. And finally, I've put a little grey arrow back to the start here again, because I want to suggest that once you've been all around this process, you've had different conversations on different platforms. People have maybe commented here, perhaps someone's asked you a question here. By the time you've gone around all these different methods of upcycling, you've probably got a new spin on the content yourself. So perhaps that's going to inspire your next piece of writing. Perhaps it'll be part B of the blog post, a follow-up or an answer to a question. So yeah, I hope that gives you something to think about. And finally, moving on to the 3rd lesson. Excuse me, I just had to take a little sip of water because I've been doing a lot of webinars recently and you might be able to tell I'm losing my voice a little bit. So lesson 3, and this does involve SEO a little bit, but I don't want to panic you and I certainly don't want to put you off. This is not technical or scary. If it was very technical, I wouldn't be able to do it either. I'm not a techie person. I'm a writer who learnt about marketing, so please don't be put off. What I want to show you is not the technical side of SEO, but how to use a bit of knowledge and advice from the SEO world to inform the way that you write your blog content to make it more findable on Google. And I like to think of SEO writing as being a bit like Casper the Friendly Ghost. So the idea of a ghost is absolutely terrifying, but actually once you get to know Casper, he's cute and friendly and helpful. So just in case you didn't know, it stands for Search Engine Optimization. And that's all we're doing. We're just optimizing your content to be more search engine friendly. So let me give you an example that will put it into context for you. Let's say I'm a life coach. I'm running a life coaching practice. And as a piece of content marketing, I'm planning to write a blog post about the flight or fight stress response in non-life threatening environments, such as the boardroom at work. So we're going to kind of reverse engineer it. We're going to think about who are my potential customers and what might they be searching for online. And the idea here is that my blog post is an answer to their search query. So if they were Googling things like, why do I freak out at work? What we want to do is we want to sit and think about what kind of keywords, what kind of search queries they might be typing into Google search. So perhaps it would be something like, why do I overreact at work? It might be that they're looking for help for work stress, or they might be researching the psychology of office stress. Taking the last example there, this is how I would answer their question. I would produce a blog post where the title is the answer. It's basically the keyword, the search query that they've entered into Google. Your title really is the most important thing from an SEO point of view when you're writing a blog post that you want to be findable on Google. So just to share with you, and I'm always embarrassed when I say this, but years ago, before I knew anything about SEO, I used to write the most incredibly flouncy, overly wordy and cryptic sounding blog post titles, and I did it honestly because I thought it made me sound clever. But now I look back at it and I absolutely cringe because it wasn't clever. I was actually just making no sense to people that would find me on Google. They were probably looking at me in the search engine results and thinking, well, I'm not going to click on that because I don't know what it is. So what I do now is I make sure that my title is crystal clear and just really simple. And then within the body of the blog post, you want to aim for around 300 words if possible. More is fine, less not so much. And I'm getting my advice there from a company called Yoast SEO. And if you use WordPress.com, you might know this already, but if you don't, go to the plugin store and find the Yoast SEO plugin. It's free and it's absolutely fantastic. It helps to guide you in writing SEO friendly blog posts. I use it on all 3 of my websites and I love it. But I'm getting my advice here from Yoast. They say that 300 words is a length that Google considers to be very readable by most people, and it's not too short, so they're not considering that it's a spammy and pointless post. So that's the ideal length. And most importantly is don't forget to write naturally around your focus keywords. So the focus keyword is my title. It's what we're presuming our potential customer is putting in as their search query into Google, and we want to work this into the body of our 300 words. So you might have heard the word keyword stuffing. That's something that SEO technicians used to do a couple of years ago, where they just fill the body of the text with the keywords. And Google got wise to this. Google's incredibly smart now. So if your post is just the psychology of office stress, and it keeps repeating it, and it's unnecessarily stuffed the keyword in there, you will be penalised. So just write naturally. Just keep it nice and natural, but just don't forget to refer back to the search query, refer back to the title. So rather like writing an essay at university, I suppose, just refer back to the topic every now and then in a just checking in, this is what we're talking about kind of way. Something else you can do as well is to add a nice stock image, something eye-catching. I've put legal in brackets there just as a reminder to people, don't just grab anything you like from Google image search results. Make sure you go to a free sharing site and use something that it's okay for you to use. So librestock.com, Libre stock.com is a great place for really modern free images that are legal to use. If you're using something like WordPress, then when you're building and editing your blog post, you'll have the option to add something called alt text when you're putting your image in. We won't go off down a technical route about what it does, but it is somewhere that you can put your keyword in again, psychology of office stress, but only do that if it's a relevant image. So the psychology of office stress as a keyword for an image of Mickey Mouse, totally not relevant. But here, this is a stressed out looking lady in a work environment. That's fine. That's absolutely fine use of a keyword just there. And one more thing I wanted to say as well, and this won't be relevant to everybody, but if you're using something such as WordPress where you have the opportunity to add tags to your post, those are no longer relevant and Google doesn't use them anymore. So not everyone knows that. So I just wanted to share it. I don't tag my blog posts anymore because Google isn't using tags. So the only place that Google is searching for keywords is the title and the body of your text. And this reference, I know it won't translate internationally, but if you're from the UK and if you're about my age, you will remember the Ronseal advert, and the tagline does exactly what it says on the tin. And that's what I like to keep in the back of my mind when I'm writing for SEO. I like to Ronseal it, particularly with my title. It needs to do exactly what it says on the tin. And so that's just something that I have in the back of my mind that's easily memorable and keeps me on track while I'm writing for SEO. So those are my top 3 tips, and I hope you found them helpful. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a sneaky peek inside of my full eCourse that these tips came from, and show you what the 20 lessons are to see if this might be something that you want to take up. So the eCourse content, it's broken down into 4 modules, and the first modules, the first 5 days, is about getting yourself out there and getting started on social media, so reaching your new audience of people who may become your customers. The next module, the next 5 days lessons, it's about creating original content and really standing out from your competitors. Third section, let's get digital. So with digital marketing, I think it can sound quite dry and it can sound a bit scary and intimidating. And I called it something silly because I wanted to make it fun. So I was completely singing that Olivia Newton-John song in my head. Let's get physical, but let's get digital. A bit of a dad joke, but it amused me, and it is going to be a fun week. I'm not going to hammer you with geeky, techie stuff. We're just going to get through it, and it's written for normal people. I'm a normal person. I'm not a techie wizard of any kind. So if I can do this stuff, you can do this stuff, and I will show you how. And the last section, I've called it, okay, I have some fans, but what now? And it's all about nurturing those fans into customers, because we go to all the effort and trouble of getting new Facebook fans and sending new content out to them and doing all the digital bits. At the end of the day, we need to convert some of those people into customers, because that's the point. That's what we're doing. We're marketing, we're growing your business. So if you have hundreds of thousands of Facebook fans, but none of them ever join your mailing list and then, come to you for a consultation, for a coaching session, or whatever it is that you're selling, then, those thousands of Facebook followers, that's just a vanity number if that none of them are converting. So what we do in the last week is we really focus on how do we complete the journey, get people from being a fan down a sales funnel and into your inner circle. So got you covered there. Okay, so this is what it looks like inside of Kajabi, and this is the platform that I'm hosting my training on. It's really nice, Kajabi, because it works either on your desktop, on your laptop, or you can use it on a tablet or even on a smartphone. And it's all on demand, so you don't have to take it as soon as you've signed up. You can You can spread it out, you can pause, you can take a break, you can revisit modules. So it's nice and flexible. And inside each of the 20 days, there's pretty much the same format inside each day. You've got a PDF here to start with, and that's the original blog content. Now, as you may remember me saying earlier, this e-course is based on the challenge that I did back in June. And for each day of the challenge in June, I wrote my followers a blog post to explain what the task was that day. So I've taken that original content, tidied it up and turned it into a PDF that you can download and keep. From there, once you've read that, and I want you to start there just so it sets the scene for the day. From there, come over to the video. Now, these are all really short. They're between 5 and 15 minutes, depending on the day's lesson. And they're not slides like today. They're a walkthrough video. So it's a screen capture of my laptop, and it's me doing the things that we've just talked about on the blog, and I'm walking you through it. So I'm taking you by the hand and saying, we go here, we do this, and here are some other tips and tricks you can try as well. And because it's video, you can pause it, rewind it, you can recap as much as you need to. And then if we go back to the downloads, you've got a recap and a homework PDF for each day. And it's just a few tips here that you need to, I just really want you to remember the key takeaways. And then there's a little homework task as well. So obviously I'm not marking you, and I don't know if you're doing the homework or not, but I really encourage you to do it, because there's nothing like doing for learning. It really does crystallize information in your brain. And obviously the more that you're doing the homework tasks physically on your own social media platforms, the more that you're doing for your social media following and the more that you're doing for your business. So I'm just going to give you a little peek into what each of the lessons are. Day 1, I've called Lead with Value and Create Original Content. And this is really to set the tone for how I want you to communicate with your customers throughout. I really want to make sure there's value in everything that you give to people, because it's so important. Day 2, getting Facebook likes for free. Everybody loves this one. Who doesn't love getting free stuff? We're going to talk about some ways to get Facebook likes and interactions without paying for advertising. Day 3, that's the first lesson that we looked at today. So the 2-for-1 trick when you're paying for Facebook likes. Day 4 is Instagram for busy people. Now, I know Instagram is Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, or you've never looked at it. But if you're using it, then you want to make sure that you don't lose hours of your day in there, because it can really pull you in. So I'm going to show you just some quick ways to maintain a following without getting lost in there and wasting too much time. Day 5 is Twitter growth made simple. This is more than just tweeting. This is about relationship building on Twitter, which is super important. You can tweet out all the links that you want, but if you've not made some friends and followers on there that you've interacted with, people are unlikely to click them. So that's what we tackle on day 5. And day 6 is about blogging with or without a website. So no excuses if you haven't built a site yet. We can still get you blogging. Day 7 and 8 are about live streaming. Now on day 7, I've used a platform called Blab, and it's not going to be around for much longer. I've heard the sad news they've cut the funding for it, but there are actually many websites out there that do the same thing. It's a bit like Google Hangouts, where you can host a conversation with several people online, which is broadcast for the whole world to watch. So I'll show you quickly how to in the 6-minute video here, but there's also bonus content in there as well. If you want to watch it, there's a link to an hour-long Blab conversation that I hosted that's on YouTube now. So if you want to watch my live example of how it can be used to grow brand awareness, then you can watch me having a conversation. I actually hosted a chat with 2 of my life coaching friends, and we talked about a coaching topic for an hour, because I'd seen some other life coaches on Blab doing a fantastic job of growing their brand awareness this way, so I really wanted to demonstrate it. And then the day 8 live streaming, it's the solo stuff, the bits you do on your own, Facebook and Periscope. Day 9, content for busy people. That's the upcycling lesson that I showed you today. And then day 10, finding inspiration for your content. This is a really big deal for a lot of people. So many people come to me saying, I'd love to blog every day, but I've got no idea what to write about. So we tackle that. How do you stop overthinking it and just get it done? Now from day 11, we're into the Let's Get Digital section. I'm going to start by showing you how I plan a Google AdWords campaign, because AdWords itself is not that hard, but planning a campaign to be effective can be quite confusing. So I'm going to show you my technique, how I get a handle on that. And day 12, SEO tips for normal people. That's the last lesson we covered today. It's Casper the Friendly Ghost. Now, days 13 and 14, I've both dedicated to email list because it's still the most cost-effective marketing tool that you'll have in your toolbox. There's some statistic and long-held belief in the marketing world that you need to show yourself with some value to a cold audience who don't know you at least 6 times before they'll feel confident enough to invest their time or money in you. So if you had to pay to show yourself to somebody on Facebook 6 times, that would cost you quite a lot. If you had to pay to advertise on Google to the same person 6 times, that would cost quite a lot. But if you can get somebody onto your email list, you might need to pay for that once. But once they're on your email list, as long as you manage that list well and you keep them happy and engaged and don't scare them off, you can show yourself to them as many times as you need to without it being a problem. You won't have to pay again. So your email list are kind of a captive audience, so they're super important to your business. So that's why there's 2 lessons on that. Day 15, I'm answering a question I get a lot, particularly from coaches. They want to know, is it more relevant for me to pay for Facebook advertising or for Google advertising? And so I tackle that question there. Day 16, we're talking about value again because it's a simple concept, but it's easy to forget. So since we're getting towards the end of the course here, I wanted to revisit that topic and make sure that you're still remembering to bring that theme of giving value through everything that you're doing. Day 17 is very much about layouts, website layout, landing page layout, calls to action. It's about making sure that everyone who is a potential customer can see what the next step is for them to take, whether that's to sign up to your newsletter, whether it's to take an offer. You would be amazed how often people miss the really obvious stuff or things that you think are really obvious because you know your website really well, but they don't. So we're going to talk about that. And on day 18, because you've started in week 1 growing your Facebook audience, by now you should have some really good data inside your Facebook Insight accounts. So we're going to pop into the Insights tab together. I'm showing you on my desktop, and we're going to look at that data to get a really good sense of what our crowds are into and who they are, what time of day they're online. That should inform when I'm posting my things online for them, and what they liked the most and what they would like to see more of, because we're keeping people engaged and happy. And then day 19, this is all about your marketing calendar. So I think there are 2 types of marketing strategy that are really worth planning out in your diary. And one is event-based. So if you've got a physical event, if you've got a book launch, if you've got a special offer or a launch period, that kind of event is really exciting because you're getting all pumped about it and you're seeing the dollar signs, you're going to make some money then. So that those are really easy to plan for because they're really exciting. But it's the other kind, the daily tasks, that can feel like a chore because they're not sexy, they're not fun, you can't necessarily see the dollar signs straight away. So it's like, oh, I've got to post on Facebook, oh, I've got to create some content, oh God, when am I going to see the revenue come in from this? Because it's not always immediate. So what we're going to do here is talk about making it really, really quick, bite-sized and fun, because you have to do it. Consistency is the most important thing on social media. It's so important. Once you slip out of somebody's mind and they stop liking your stuff, you're probably going to slip from their newsfeed and you'll never see each other again. You've got to be consistent, but you've also got to do it without driving yourself crazy. So we're going to talk about how to get a handle on that. And then day 20, it's about tying it all together. So no homework on the last day. You've worked hard enough and you should be seeing some results already by now. So if this sounds like it would work for you, then the full training is now available on Kajabi for £125. You're probably wondering why it's such a low price when a lot of marketing training courses are hundreds, sometimes in excess of £1,000. I just want it to be accessible to people, particularly my micro niche of other authors and life coaches. You guys have got enough expenses going on. So yeah, I just want it to be accessible and not a reason to not learn it. I don't want the price to be so high that it becomes an excuse. Oh, I can't afford to learn this stuff, so I won't do it this year. I'll do it next year. I don't want you guys to put it off, because I know that we do that. Humans are terrible for finding reasons not to succeed. Don't fall into that trap. I've made it really affordable. Go for it. Do the training. Do all the homework. Embrace it fully and grow your visibility. Get a new audience of warm leads, some of which will become your customers. And we're at the end, so thank you very much for joining me. That URL there is where to get your PDF download. You'll also get an email from me, so you'll have a link to it as well. But if you want to grab it immediately and not wait for the email, then just go to my website /thank-you, and you can get the social media tips download that I promised you there. If you have any questions, then you can always drop me an email. I will be emailing you soon, so if you don't have it already, you'll have my email address in your inbox. And yeah, if you have any questions, just reach out. Bye for now.